Boy, this is nerve-wracking. We're live.
This is today, right?
This is today. Boy, look how it change it, flips our face.
What?
People never know that we have a content company. The way we're starting off this thing going, look at how the camera does.
Yeah.
So let's see. Who's going to be our first person in?
Judson says, hey, Mike.
All right.
Jeremy
hey,
here,
Judson.
NASCAR 690. Me and Mike just got done watching the TV show, and we've been thinking about doing an after show for this episode because of the feedback that we've seen from you guys on social media, that after listening to the podcast when it came out, I guess Tuesday night, you guys had a lot of questions. So there'll be a lot of people in this chat, and it'll be tough to get to the questions. But first off, I guess we can tell a little backstory about this podcast, this particular one. I've wanted Carrie to be on the show for a really long time, but we actually had a different guest lined up for this week, and that guest didn't work out. And so kind of in the ninth hour, I reached out to Carrie and asked him if he wanted to come on the show. So,
and he wasn't a backup option because we had tried to get Carrie a few weeks ago, but he was out of town. And so we've been he was on our radar.
So this kind of fell into our laps, and I say fell into our laps because the numbers for our podcast this week have been some of the best numbers we've had since Schrader. And so all our podcasts do really great, but this one was very popular. And so I started seeing a lot of people talk about how they had some questions after listening to the podcast. And we certainly want to have Carrie come back and dive into all that a little bit deeper. There were a lot of things while we were watching the show tonight that I was reminded of. Carrie talks about that story when he pulled the door off the hinges and tied his truck. So I wasn't at the house. I had changed the lock on the back door, and I don't think I changed both locks, but I changed the lock on the back door kind of as a dig, but I mean, I knew I was eventually going to get him a key, but so he comes and pulls the door off of the hinges with his truck, bolts changes truck to the back door and takes off and rips the door right open. Didn't tear the door off the hinges. It just pulled the door open enough for him to get in. And so funny thing, the door wasn't destroyed. It still kind of worked, and we laughed about it. But Daddy come over there the next day and noticed the door was tore up and was really hot. And Carrie and I are standing there, and Dad looks at us and says, "What happened to this door?" And Carrie looks at me and looks back at Dad and says, "We're having a real hard time keeping the girls out." And I just thought, and I didn't have that sort of ability to charm Dad in those moments. I've always said something that probably made things worse or made Dad more angry. But Carrie had a way with their connection, and you can see it in their physical traits. But Carrie had a way of sort of tuning Dad back down. He knew how to get Dad to chill out. So that was one of the moments that I thought about that after the podcast, and wish we'd included it. But it was a pretty funny moment where Carrie kind of had a great comeback for Dad.
Did those? So when rehashing those stories, there's a lot I noticed at the table that you had not remembered. Maybe some of them triggered a memory, some of them didn't. But when he's telling those stories, what triggered your memory the most? Like you hadn't thought about in probably 30 years, and you're like, "Oh my gosh, I forgot about how this all went down."
Well, there was one story about when we moved in together. Carrie asked me at the table. He goes, "Hey, we moved in together. You remember that?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I do." And watching the show tonight, I thought of one of the moments that was pretty crazy, actually. So we move into this double wide trailer, and the trailer didn't have any barrier underneath it around the perimeter of the trailer. You can put a brick up or lattice or whatever you want, and ours didn't have anything. And we didn't think anything of it, right? We're in this trailer. We're living on our own for the first time in our lives. And we're excited. But that first week that we lived in that trailer, we caught a dozen mice.
Dang.
No less than a dozen mice. We were catching them. We were finding them, cornering them alive. There were so many mice in that house. They'd gotten in there. For some reason, you know, the house gets put on a lot. Then they got to hook it up, all the plumbing and the wiring. And there's a few weeks, maybe a month, where that house was there without us in it. And it got to be full of mice. So we were catching them in traps. One we cornered in the room and shot it with a BB gun. And just imagine me and Carrie, him 21, me 18, 19, 17, whatever, standing there trying to shoot this mice as it's darting around in the room with a BB gun. It was hilarious. But I mean, you couldn't sleep at night without wondering if one was going to crawl across you in bed. So, and later in my life, one of my cats did bring a mouse in the house and dropped it in the bed between me and Amy, and she took off running, and I didn't. And it was because it was not that crazy.
you had all that experience.
I did, yeah. So, but I remember that first week catching all them mice and thinking, I don't know if I can handle this, and we got to figure out how to seal up the bottom of this house. And we finally did. We finally got somebody come in there and brick up the bottom of the house, and no more mice. We still, you know, we were surrounded by fields, so every once in a while we get a mouse, but we figured out where they're all coming in, did a lot of work to keep it clean as we could.
Where was this trailer?
The trailer's right across the street from DEI.
It's where this house is now?
The trailer's still there. I'd love to go.
It's still there?
Yeah. I'd love to go in it. I think I moved out of that trailer and moved into if you look across from DEI, there's a house with this funky little square thing over the front door.
Yeah. The golden arches.
It's not really an arch. It's really kind of a square, but it's right across the street from DEI. And I lived in that house for a long time, but right behind that house is the trailer we lived in, but it's still there. I'd love to go inside it. We used to have parties or just be idiots and punch holes in the walls. And I'd go into the back closet and cut a square out of the closet wallpaper and peel it off, and then helicopter tape it over the hole in the living room or wherever we were trying to patch up. So we got pretty good at fixing that old trailer up. Carrie did kick my door off of the hinges more than once. One time, I guess, when I changed the locks on the back door, but another time during a party, he didn't want me going to bed as early as I wanted to go to bed. So he come in there and got me out of bed. But we had a lot of fun.
You know, we're going to have to talk about something. Now, if I'm assuming everybody here has either listened to the podcast or they've watched the podcast, I think we're going to have to go ahead and just tackle the elephant in the room. And that is you as a roommate with the drum set.
Yeah.
I mean, I cannot even think. I've heard of bad roommates in my time, but I have never heard of anybody that's going to play a drum set at 2:00 in the morning every night. And then that was just the warm up. That was just a little teaser. The phone bill situation, $400 something, and you had no plans on checking up after that first phone bill. You are now going to be, racing on that deal.
Yeah.
I'm just telling you, man, there's a lot of relationships got broken up over stuff like that.
Well, we were blood, and I definitely, when I got addicted to online racing, this was crazy. I couldn't believe how this was amazing. Racing online against other people, real people. That's a real person in that car in front of me. It was really addicting. And even though I didn't have $400 in my pocket to pay that phone bill, neither did Carrie, I didn't care. I was going to, do it and ask for forgiveness later. And I think I ran up 3 or 4 months worth of phone bills before I finally, backed off and pulled myself back. And we just got so far in the hole. We got way behind on our bills many, many times for many, many reasons. I was making, $130 after taxes a week probably. And that's probably generous, changing oil at a dealership. Carrie was a service writer and doing pretty good, but he also had, his kids to take care of and things there. So we didn't have a whole lot of money, and Dad wasn't helping us, right? Dad wasn't giving us money. And so I remember one time I'd gotten pretty good on some putting a little money in the bank and living in that trailer. remember the satellite dish come out, the little one, Direct TV, I guess. I don't remember who was doing it back then, but anyways, I think it was Direct TV. They come out with a satellite dish. This thing was like $800, $900 to buy it and have it installed. And then then you got the monthly bill. And I went to Dad and I said, man, I'd love to get one of those. I don't have that much money. But if maybe you'd split the bill or split the initial installation. And he agreed to do it. And then I got it installed and he said he wasn't going to split the bill. And I was stuck with that. But
wait. He totally did that.
He did that. Yeah. I mean, so you see where I got this from, where I got this little, where I got the personality of as a roommate.
No, I still think that was all you, but I'm saying that's just that feels kind of wrong. That
it was wrong.
That your dad would have, got your hopes up. You went and bought it.
I guess what I'm saying, of course, yeah, I went and bought it, had it installed, and then when it came time to pay for it, he was like, "Nah, I don't like that deal. I'm not doing it." And I had to figure out how to get that done. But
you went to Carrie, didn't you?
No, I think Carrie moved out by that.
Yeah, I'm sure he did.
But anyway,
I know he did.
We give each other a lot of grief, and we were hard. We were boys, and we knew we could push each other really, really far and get away with it, and we kept doing that. And he didn't do anything bad to me. He never was a bad roommate, but he was hard on me at times, and I think it made me want to get back at him any way I could. But the next day we were back to being looking out for each other. We really had each other's back. Both of us were in the same position. We're trying our hardest to get Dad's attention, however we needed to, and we needed to work together to do that. We weren't going to get it by burying each other. So one of the interesting things that I caught when Carrie was doing the podcast is when he's trying to meet Dad. So there's two things here. So Carrie has a phone call at the age of 13 with Dad, first time ever.
Yeah. And
then nothing for 3 years, right?
Christmas presents.
Yeah. And you can hear in Carrie's voice, he's like trying to justify, whatever he can justify on Dad's side as far as that goes with the Christmas present comment over and over. And I was thinking to myself, I guess when would this have ever happened if it was really totally up to Dad to make the first move, right? Dad had plenty of opportunities to do that, and he didn't. Carrie had to literally wait till he got his driver's license to ever hear from him again and go over to Mama's house and corner Dad in a sense in his shop, catch him there, right?
And sort of sneak away from his mom who who was discouraging that the whole time.
So that was my number one was, man, I'd love to talk to Dad about this.
Yeah.
And see, like, was his excuse of not trying to get in the way of Jack, Dad, Carrie's adopted father, apparently he didn't want Dad around. Was that an excuse, right? Or was that genuinely he was out of respect to Jack to stay away? That would have been hard being a parent today. I just can't believe that Dad would stay away all those years and not figure out some way to communicate with Jack and create a possibility for a relationship with Carrie. Carrie literally had to do all of the legwork to get Dad to talk to him and to create, start to build that relationship. And it did build into something really great. But without Carrie doing anything, I don't know what would have happened. So anyway, that was one thing. The other thing is I didn't get it until I heard the podcast again tonight. But while Carrie's waiting for those 3 years for something to happen with his dad, between the phone call and the first meeting, I didn't realize he was leaning on his mom or needed his mom or was depending on his mom to help him make that move. Mm-hmm. Because he says something really quickly and really short in that podcast where he goes, she wasn't going to do it.
Yeah.
And so I realized, like, oh man, he was really dependent on Latane. And then Latane has this reaction where she cries after Carrie and Dad meet. So I came home and I told Amy all about it. And I was like, man, that really confused me why she cried and what she was worried about. And Amy goes, she was worried about Carrie being rejected and having to, they had, maybe Latane had feared that all along. Maybe Jack had feared that all along. How are they going to handle explaining this to Carrie and helping Carrie understand that his daddy didn't want anything to do with him. Well, it turns out that wasn't the case, but that's what Latane was worried about. And I didn't get that. Amy got it right away. I'm telling you, man, this podcast has been an eye opener for me. I mean, we really enjoy all of them, and we get to talk to some amazing guests, and we hear some awesome stories. But this one was personal, and I too, just like you guys out there, have so many questions that I'd love to ask Carrie again and ask Dad, and yeah. So
okay, a couple things. One is the most profound part, since we're on that topic. When we heard Carrie say, I didn't know if I was going to be accepted or rejected. Now you just think about that. Like I'm sitting there at that table with you, and to hear a man have to say that, and knowing that how old was he at the time? Was he like 14, 15, 16? Oh, he was 16 because he drove. Man, 16-year-olds shouldn't have to ask that question to themselves, or shouldn't have to wonder that. And I bet that's what Latane knew. And, being a parent now, you got two little girls, I got two little girls. It's like, man, just the thought of them being crushed, that they're going to live their life. They're going to be hurt, man. They're going to be crushed. People are going to break their hearts. People are going to do this, but you just feel this need to protect them. And I have no doubt that that's probably what Latane and Jack were thinking, and they wanted to protect him. Fortunately, though, it did work out. But the fact that he had to go to work we were sort of chuckling at you because as we were watching the show, Dale asked Carrie, how long did you stay in Mamaw's house before you went out to the shop, where Dale Sr. was and the guys? And he said, 2 hours.
Yeah.
We didn't know what to make of that. I mean, can you imagine? It'd be great to even hear Mamaw's take on that, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
But I don't know, man. To hear Carrie have to really process that really, really struck me and made me really sad, to be honest with you. And also made me appreciate Carrie to levels that I never even thought were possible, because of that guy is one of the most genuine, salt of the earth guys. And he has every reason not to be, honestly, to have to have, overcome all that. And yet here he is. So I thought that was really profound. The conversation with him and your dad, like, did you think it was a little just surreal when he shows up in the garage, the shop, and they say, "Hey, Dad. Yeah. Hey, son. Hey, son. How you doing?" Yeah. Like he's never seen him before.
Yeah,
man.
So I was thinking about that, and I'm thinking, Carrie's probably thinking about that moment, for years. Dad's got to be thinking about it too. He knows that Carrie's going to get his license. He probably knows exactly when that day is. He probably knows that any minute Carrie's going to come walking through that door. So this was probably no surprise to Dad to see Carrie come in there. It was funny that Carrie sat in Mamaw's living room and talked to her for 2 hours to get the nerve up to go out there. God, I just imagine the terror or nerves, the worry and the fear that he must have been feeling during that conversation with Mamaw, and the excitement of possibilities. And I know that when he walks out that back door, it's 20 steps.
Yeah.
To the garage. And my gosh.
That bet it felt like a mile.
Yeah. Or 1 step. I don't know.
I'm going to tell you something, man. No, that'd have been treacherous, to be honest with you. There was something else. Oh, had you ever heard? I don't think you had heard this, but Mamaw showing up at his baseball games and then coming to him after the game and saying, "I'm your grandmother."
Yeah, that's crazy. So I've known Carrie forever, but I did not know this story, none of it. So we all learned and watched this together. When I sat there and did the podcast with him this week, I learned about all this stuff for the first time, just like a lot of you guys and gals. And man, it really has shaped my opinion of Carrie. I had big respect for him and obviously love him. But man, and I know that everywhere he goes, I'm not just saying this, everywhere he goes, everybody he meets, he makes a connection. People remember him. People love interacting with him. People recall meeting him fondly everywhere he goes, no matter who it is. And, I know why now. I kind of get it. I always wondered how he had that charisma and that effect on people, but he's got an ability in him that is rare trait. But knowing how he had to process all that as a kid and go through that difficulty and worry and concern and come out the other end with such wisdom and ability to communicate and relate and be friendly. I mean, he's just a special person. So I'm glad we were able to highlight that. I did not see any of that coming into this podcast. So I'm just glad we all got to experience that. That was great for all of us. Talking about this little YouTube live segment, we weren't planning on starting this or making a habit out of this, but having you guys so engaged with this show, I felt like we needed to have a conversation post podcast. So maybe it's something we'll start doing in the future. We'll see how the reaction is to it. See how you guys like it. If it adds more to what we're doing and has some value to you guys, love to keep doing it. So we always come out of our podcast with some questions, and then you come out of there and you think about things you should have asked or forgot to ask, or stories that come to mind that don't come into mind when you're in the room that would be great for a show like this. So
yeah. Did you have any more of those? Did you, like I did?
Yeah.
I had to listen. Every show, you and we sit there and we come up with things that we think we want to ask, and we barely get to half of them. Yeah. Maybe I will. Carrie, I would have loved to ask him more about his opportunities. To make a racing career. I know that you guys had a couple of those starts. Those couple, that Michigan one, that famous picture with your dad and you two. He got off to a bad start on that one. He did mention briefly the Fitz Bradshaw ride. Oh, dude, did the TV show? I don't know. We were sitting here messing with this thing. I don't even know if the TV show aired the part about him finding out about how his ARCA ride went away. I mean, is that not one of the most baffling things ever?
Yeah, I mean, you guys, a lot of y'all probably only know the TV version of our show, but they cut that TV show down from about a 2-hour podcast that we create and release every Tuesday. And there was a bunch of information and bombshell moments that just can't fit into a 1-hour TV show, and that was absolutely one of them. I don't want to give too much away. I want to drive everybody to the podcast so they can hear it for themselves through Carrie's mouth and his version of events. But what happened to him on the night of Dad's death was I still find it just so unbelievable, and hard to imagine getting that phone call in that moment of your life. But and he never mentioned that to me before. But anyhow, I'll tell you what it did do. It made me want to spend more time with him.
That's good.
It sure did. So they're right now as we speak at Kannapolis downtown at the what's it called? Old Armor Brewery.
Old Armor Beer Company.
Enjoying some of his new beer, the Earnhardt Collection Earnhardt Ale, whatever it's called. But you can only get it there at Old Armor in Kannapolis. And it's really good. So also wearing this Red Farmer t-shirt. I think they're selling these at the Hall of Fame or something.
Yeah, it's got Hall of Fame on it.
Yeah, so if you want one of these Red Farmers, they got a Mike Stefanik as well. Both those dudes, I'm sharing that class with them. 2020 or 21? 21? I don't even know, but we're excited to eventually get inducted into it. But this is great. Hope you guys enjoyed it.
Well, hold on. Let's see if there's if it's been hard to look at the comments, and I don't typically. We were going to have Leah come over here and help field some questions because we love hearing what you guys have to say, but it's not that easy. So let's see if we can snag one real quick. Maybe I'll ask this. I mean, if you guys had a question from the show that you felt like we didn't answer,
Frank keeps asking, Frank T92. He wants to know if Taylor will be on the show. I'd love to have Taylor come on the show. That would probably be another big time eye-opening conversation. Me and Taylor, don't communicate a ton, and I'd love to sit down and just hear anything and everything she'd have to say about her childhood and her experiences with Dad and all the things that we went through and what she's up to today. She'd be it'd be a lot of fun to talk to her.
I see a question. What did Kelly think? Kelly was in the office yesterday. I don't know that I talked to her before she was able to listen to the podcast. All I know is that she couldn't wait to hear it. So I'm not quite sure what she thought about it. I'm sure she has some interesting takes on it. Any chance to get over to DEI one day? I drive by it every day going home. And now I'm going to look for a trailer or the double wide.
Yeah.
I didn't know it was over there.
Yeah, might not be able to see it from the road. It's pretty far off the road, but
let's see here. Is it? Oh, okay. Hold on. I do see a Lost Speedways question.
Yeah.
Man, what are we allowed to say about this weekend?
What's this weekend? What is this weekend?
The trailer comes out.
Oh, well, great. The trailer comes out.
But it's where the trailer comes out that I don't know if we're allowed to say.
I don't even know where it comes out.
You know what?
Go ahead, Mike.
The people on this YouTube live deserve to know a little bit. If I get in trouble for leaking this information, you'll take the bullet for me, won't you?
Sure.
All right. Dale Jr. wants y'all to know that the trailer for Lost Speedways is going to premiere on the Indy 500 pre-race show.
Oh my gosh.
Did you not know that?
I didn't know that.
I should have told you. Yeah, Indy 500. John Barnes is the producer of it.
Nice.
So he's going to have the full trailer. So that's exciting. That's a big deal.
Yep.
I saw a Lost Speedways question, so that's I wanted to mention that. And man, I'm telling you guys, the run of tracks that we got coming for you on that is we're really proud of it. And so I hope y'all are too. If you're not proud of it, I don't think it'll faze me one bit because I'm proud of it. It was a lot of fun to shoot, and I think we tell the stories well. So look forward to you guys getting to see that. And that'll come out in July, but the trailer this weekend.
One DB's asking if we're going to get Ty Norris on the show.
We should tell her.
Yeah, go ahead.
Next week.
Ty Norris.
Next week.
So Ty Norris, I know some of you guys are asking about Ty. Absolutely, Ty's going to be on the show. Ty Norris was one of the first employees Dad hired when he started to build DEI into the Cup team. It became hired Ty in the mid-'90s, and Ty was the general manager of DEI all the way through about 2003, 2004. So it is going to be bombshells from start to finish. And interesting enough, there's a little bit of a crossover where the Carrie podcast and the Ty podcast intersect.
Just how we planned it.
Yeah, a little bit. But anyway, the Ty Norris one is a must listen to if you're a Dale Earnhardt fan, DEI fan. You remember those days back then?
MWR, happen to remember that Richmond race?
Yeah.
Definitely. He does not hold back. He says, we said before the interview, we're like, hey, man, is there anything you just want us to stay away from? Not that we would, but we just want to know what you think. He's like, everything's fair. Fire away. Anything goes. And we're like, all right. And we went there.
David wants to know about Jimmy Spencer.
About as far as just, coming on the show?
Yeah.
June 15th.
There you go. Jimmy Spencer is coming on the podcast.
Dude,
I said not even maybe a month or two ago he'd never come on.
Right. But we thought that was because of you.
Yeah.
But
I had a change of heart.
You had to change your heart. Listen, and you know what? That's all we're going to tell you right here because we'll save for the reason why that might have been for the show. Listen, this is what we got coming for you. Are you ready for this? I mean, just think about this. We just had Carrie in that amazing show. All right. Ty Norris coming next week. Ward Burton after that, y'all. Ward Burton. And then Jimmy Spencer. Come on. Y'all just let that marinate a little bit. Y'all think about that. That's a run of episodes right there. I mean, we should just shut it down after that, right?
So.
Just shut her down. We'll be done.
Yeah, I think we'll shut this down. I hope y'all enjoyed it tonight. It was a lot of fun. Again, I'm sure, I'd love to do this after every show. Just get on here and kind of go over what we thought and answer some more questions. We'll get Leah to join us or somebody to help us see this chat a little bit better so we can actually get to some of these questions live. But
she had a haircut.
Yeah, she did. She had a haircut tonight, but that's a lot of fun to be able to chat with you guys as we're doing this. So appreciate everybody for tuning in. Hope you enjoyed the Carrie podcast, Dale Jr. Download. Got a lot of great guests coming up. We'll see you soon.
See y'all.